You know that moment when the world goes quiet, but not in a peaceful, birds chirping sort of way? No, I mean the kind of quiet that settles over you like a storm cloud seconds before lightning strikes. That's what hit me when I played my voicemail that night. It was my last night of deployment. We were winding down, eating whatever passed for meat in the MREs, pretending not to count the hours until we'd be on a plane home. My bag was packed. Boots shined out of habit, not hope. I was ready for peace. A quiet return to my girls. To home. And then my phone buzzed. I didn't expect anything serious. Maybe a miss you, Daddy, or a grocery list from my ex-wife she somehow forgot I wasn't there to fulfill. Instead, I heard my daughter's voice, shaky, terrified, whispering like she didn't want someone to hear her. Daddy, help us. Mom's new boyfriend and his gang have taken over our house. They said they're going to make me watch when they attack you at the door. I told them you'd make them regret it, but they just laughed, and now they're making me do their dishes. Dishes. That line got me. The fear in her voice, wrapped in something so mundane, it was like hearing your house was on fire and the flames had a favorite couch. I didn't even blink. I stood up mid-bite, walked straight to the CO's office, and dropped the request. I didn't care how long the paperwork would take. I was going home. And if anyone in that house so much as looked at my daughter the wrong way, well, they'd learn the hard way that the man they were mocking wasn't some sitcom dad with a receding hairline and a golf addiction. They were about to meet a father trained to neutralize threats, one limb at a time. The flight home felt like 100 years long. Every second I spent strapped into that seat was a second my daughter was living in a house run by criminals, and worse, welcomed in by her own mother. I landed, didn't stop to breathe. No parade, no welcome sign. I didn't even go home. First stop, my buddy Ray's place. He used to serve with me before a busted knee sent him home early. Now he ran a small private security outfit, nothing fancy, but the guy had eyes and ears everywhere. I need intel, I told him. Now, Ray didn't ask questions. Just handed me coffee and opened his laptop. A few taps, and there they were, images from his porch cam, angled just right to see the front of my old house. My house. New vehicles parked out front. A black Dodge Charger, a rusted-out Jeep, and one of those low-sitting imports with the exhaust that sounds like a busted leaf blower. Not exactly the carpool crowd. That them? He asked. I nodded slowly, studying every face that stepped in or out of the house over the last 2 weeks. Guys with neck tattoos, cigars in daylight, one guy wearing sunglasses at night, which tells you everything you need to know about his brain activity. But then I saw her. My daughter. Carrying a trash bag out to the curb, one of the men shouting something at her before laughing and disappearing back inside. She flinched. I paused the frame there. Burned it into my memory. I hadn't flinched in 10 years of service, but that, seeing her like that, nearly dropped me. You got a plan? Ray asked. Yeah, I said, setting the coffee down. Get eyes on the house. I'll go in 2 nights from now. I need to know their habits. When they sleep. When they drink. If they carry. Ray grinned. You going in loud or quiet? I didn't answer right away. Quiet was smart. Quiet was clean. But something in me, a part I'd buried under medals and discipline, wanted loud. Wanted reckoning. Let's see how they behave first, I said, but we both knew. I was sharpening the storm. For the next 48 hours, I was a ghost. Not the kind in horror movies, the kind the military trains. I parked 3 blocks down in an old church lot where the floodlights were busted and the cameras hadn't worked since Y2K. From there, I walked the back alleys I used to ride my bike through as a kid, hoodie up, beard a little thicker than it was on deployment. Just another middle-aged guy taking a walk in a hoodie, right? Wrong. I was casing the battlefield. They came and went like they owned the place. One of them, beard like a mop and arms covered in ink that meant nothing, smoked on the porch every night at 9. Another guy, scrawny and twitchy, always headed out around 11, probably chasing whatever high he hadn't caught yet. But the worst of them? He was the one that stayed. He was tall, lean, carried himself like a guy who'd never been punched in the mouth hard enough to reconsider life choices. Probably the boyfriend. The one my daughter had mentioned in the voicemail. He had a casual arrogance, the way he tossed his keys, the way he barked orders at the others. And then I saw her. Through the blinds, just for a second. My daughter, moving past the living room. Head down, shoulders tight, carrying a tray with drinks like she was serving customers at a diner instead of walking through her own home. I stood there for a long time that night, hidden in the dark between 2 fences, fists clenched so tight my nails dug into my palms. I wasn't ready to go in yet. Not without a plan. But I swear to you, if any of them had touched her that night, I wouldn't have waited another minute. They thought I was still overseas. They thought I was a name on a voicemail. They had no idea I was breathing the same air they were, and counting how many ribs I'd break if they looked at her wrong one more time. Ray called me the next morning. "You're gonna want to hear this," he said. "Got names on a few of the guys, including Loverboy." He wasn't wrong. Ray had pulled some favors with a buddy at the sheriff's department. Turns out the guy shacking up in my house, was a man named Trent Massey. 2 priors, one for aggravated assault, one for possession with intent. Not exactly father of the year material. The rest of the gang? Small-time local thugs, most of them with records like comic strips. Lots of noise, not much substance. But even a spark can burn a house down if you give it time and gasoline. I took a walk later that day, hood up, sunglasses on, right past my old mailbox. My daughter's bike was still leaning against the side of the porch, paint chipped, tires half flat. I used to fix that bike every spring. Now it looked like it hadn't moved in months. I ran into the neighbor, old Mrs. Crenshaw. She was out watering her plants like always. We made eye contact, and something flickered in her expression. Recognition. "Ethan," she said, stepping closer. "Is that you?" I nodded. "Just visiting." She glanced at the house, lowered her voice. "That man in there? He isn't right." Heard yelling. Loud music. "And your daughter? She doesn't smile anymore." That settled it. The time for surveillance was over. Tonight, I'd make contact. No weapons. No noise. Just me, at the edge of the property, waiting for my daughter to come out. I needed to know if she was okay. Really okay, not just functioning. I figured if she saw me, even just for a second, it might be enough to remind her that I was home, and that everything was about to change. It was just after sunset when I made my move. I'd stashed the truck 3 blocks over and circled back through a path only neighborhood kids and stray cats knew about, between 2 old tool sheds, past a busted fence panel, right into the shadow of my own backyard. Funny how familiar ground can feel foreign. The lawn was overgrown. The swing I'd put up for my daughter was gone, replaced by beer cans and a plastic chair that looked like it had lost a fight with a pit bull. But I wasn't here to mourn the lawn. I crouched by the edge of the house where I used to trim the hedges every Saturday morning, back when things made sense. The porch light buzzed above. Inside, I could hear voices, low, mumbling, lazy. The sound of men who'd grown too comfortable. Then, the back door creaked open. She stepped out, balancing a bag of trash in one hand and a phone in the other. My daughter. She was taller, older, wearing a hoodie 2 sizes too big, probably to hide how much she'd grown since the last time I tucked her in. But the moment I saw her face, that was still my little girl. I whispered her name. "Emma." She froze, turned slowly, cautious like she was expecting something bad. But then she saw me. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. I could see it in her eyes, though, shock, disbelief, and something else. Hope. I put a finger to my lips. "Chill. Just me. I'm home now." Tears welled in her eyes instantly. She dropped the trash and ran to me, clinging tight, face buried in my jacket like she used to when she had nightmares about monsters under the bed. "They said you weren't coming back," she whispered. "They said you'd given up on us." I held her close. "They were wrong." She pulled back. "He's inside. Trent. He doesn't know I'm out here." "Good," I said. "Don't tell him." "What are you going to do?" she asked. I gave her a look she knew well. The same one I gave when I'd find a snake in the shed or when the neighbor's dog got too close. "I'm going to take our house back." I walked her back to the door, sticking to the shadows. She didn't want to go in, not after seeing me, but I told her she had to. "For now," I said. "Just act normal. Eat dinner. Don't raise suspicion." Her eyes searched mine. "You promise you're not leaving?" I nodded. "I'm not going anywhere. Not again." She slipped inside. I waited until the door clicked shut and then moved, fast and silent, back through the fence line to where I'd parked. I didn't go home. I went to Ray's. He opened the door, took one look at my face, and just said, "We going loud?" "Not yet," I told him. "But it's time to start stacking the deck." Ray had a duffel of gear I'd helped him move a year ago: night vision, comms, surveillance toys left over from his old job contracting for some alphabet agency he never named. He unzipped it like we were opening a time capsule. "We doing this with precision," I said. "No gunfire. No sirens. I want him gone, not me in jail." Ray raised an eyebrow. "You thinking scare tactics or blackmail?" "Both." That night we got to work. Ray installed a remote camera in a tree across the street from the house, feeding video to a secure laptop in the back of his van. I built a dossier on Trent, his priors, his habits, the company he kept. It didn't take long to find pressure points. He had a warrant outstanding in another county, probation violations, unpaid fines. More importantly, he had a side hustle, a stash house 2 neighborhoods over that he thought nobody knew about. I did. By 2 a.m., I had the house layout sketched from memory, entry points marked, escape routes memorized. It wasn't just about brute force. This was going to be surgical, strategic. One night soon, Trent Massey was going to learn what it felt like to be hunted. The next night, I circled back to the house. Not to kick the door in, that moment would come, but to test the perimeter. A good op doesn't start with a bang. It starts with pressure. Subtle. Relentless. The kind of pressure that makes a man paranoid. Ray was on the comms from the van. Cameras live. Trent's inside. Alone. The others bailed an hour ago. Looks like a solo shift tonight. Perfect, I muttered. I waited until the porch light clicked off. Trent liked to pretend he was clever, saved energy at night. Probably figured nobody could see him. Problem was, I could see him. I crept to the side of the house and left a little gift tucked under the window, a burner phone, set to go off every 20 minutes with a text that just read, "We're watching." Then I knocked over a trash can on my way out. That part wasn't stealthy. That part was intentional. Within seconds, I heard the doors swing open and Trent shout into the night, "HY, who's out there?" I didn't answer. Didn't need to. I was already gone. Ray chuckled in my ear. "You're gonna give this guy a nervous breakdown." That's the idea. By morning, he'd found the phone. We know because he chucked it into the street. But the texts kept coming. The next one came from a second burner phone, placed on top of the air conditioning unit out back. Still watching. Later that day, my daughter messaged from the school computer lab. It was short. "What are you doing?" I replied. Making him nervous. That night, I watched from the same spot as always while Trent double-checked the windows and locked the back door twice. He was starting to feel it. Fear. He just didn't know yet. This wasn't even the real beginning. Trent had the look of a man who just realized his comfort zone came with a trapdoor. Over the next 2 days, Ray and I kept the pressure on. Nothing violent, nothing illegal. Just enough to keep his nerves frayed like old rope. We moved the trash cans after he took them to the curb. Put a brick in the mailbox with a note inside. Wrong address, wrong house, wrong life. We even let his car air out overnight by unlocking it and opening all the doors. No damage. No mess. Just exposure. Let him know someone got in. Guys checking over his shoulder every 30 seconds now. Ray reported through the headset. Smoked 3 cigarettes in 10 minutes. Left the porch light on all day. Good, I said. Now let's see how brave he is when the house gets a little noisy. I'd planted a Bluetooth speaker under the front steps the night before, wired to my phone. At 3:17 a.m., an hour no good man is awake. I triggered it. Just 5 seconds of audio. My voice. "I'm coming home." Trent barreled out the front door like he'd seen a ghost. Shirtless, barefoot, pistol in hand. Spun in circles on the lawn, shouting at the dark. He fired once into the trees. Didn't hit anything except his self-control. Ray had a feed from the street cam. Man's unraveling. He just called someone named Big Lou asking if he can crash there tonight. Let him go, I said. It's time the house got some quiet. Trent didn't leave right away, but he didn't sleep either. Lights stayed on. He paced like a lion in a cage. And for the first time since he laid foot in my home, he looked afraid. Which was good. Because tomorrow, the man he mocked in that voicemail, he was going to walk through the front door. The sun was still up when I walked to the front porch. No more hiding. No more notes or shadows. Just me, boots on the steps, knocking with the same fist I used to rebuild half that house after the roof caved in back in '09. That door had felt like home once. Now it felt like a wall between me and what was mine. He opened it slower than I expected. No pistol in sight. Maybe he was trying to play it cool. But the look in his eyes? That gave him away. Bloodshot. Jumpy. The kind of look a man gets when he can't tell if he's dreaming or being hunted. I didn't wait for him to speak. Trent Massey, I said. He blinked. Who's asking? Emma's father. You could actually see the color drain out of his face. Like someone hit a dimmer switch on his courage. She didn't say you were back, he muttered, leaning halfway behind the door like he wanted to shut it, but couldn't justify it yet. She didn't know I was coming, I said. Neither did you. That's what makes this moment so special. He opened the door wider. trying to act tough. Look, man, I don't know what she told you, but I stepped forward. Just enough that he had to take a step back. You don't talk about her, I said, voice low and steady. You don't look at her. And you sure as hell don't make her do your dishes. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. I let that silence sit heavy for a beat. Then I added, you've got 24 hours to get out. Your freeloading crew. Every last trace of you gone. Or next time, I'm not knocking. He forced a smirk. You think you can just show up and now? I don't think, I said. I know. And you do too. Otherwise, you'd be standing straighter right now. We stared at each other a long second. He blinked first. You'll regret this, he muttered. I stepped back onto the porch. No. You will, if you're still here tomorrow. I turned and walked down the steps. Didn't look back. Didn't need to. That was the thing about fear. It lingers longer than a punch. I knew he wasn't going to leave quietly. Guys like Trent don't walk away just because they're told to. They need to feel like they can't stay. That night, Ray called. You were right. He made a call to someone named Rico. Told him to bring the boys and watch the house. Guess your visit rattled the hive. Good, I said. Let's see what buzzes out. They showed up at 2:11 a.m. 2 cars. 5 guys. Loud enough to wake the dead and dumb enough to think I wouldn't be watching. They parked across the street, laughing like high schoolers trying to impress each other. One of them got out and pissed on the neighbor's mailbox. They didn't approach the house. Not directly. Just lingered. Loitered. Trying to show force. Ray's voice came through the comms. Want to call the cops? Nope, I said. Let him get comfortable. I walked down the street 10 minutes later in an old hoodie and jeans. Looked like I was out for a smoke or a bad decision. They didn't recognize me at first, probably thought I was just another guy from the neighborhood. Hey, old man, one of them called. You lose your walker? I kept walking. Another one laughed. Somebody's past bedtime. They didn't notice I paused for half a second as I passed behind their car. Long enough to snap a photo of the plate. Long enough to let a pocket-sized tracker slide under the bumper. By the time I turned the corner, I had a full view of their faces and a license plate number. Ray was already running it through his system. They're not local, he said. Gang ties in 2 counties over. Nothing major, but enough to raise eyebrows. Perfect, I said. See, that's the difference between a threat and a mistake. A threat is a guy saying he's going to do something. A mistake is a guy showing up with people tied to organized crime in front of a camera-laden neighborhood. And mistakes? I use those. Tomorrow I'd have everything I needed. Not just to get them out of my house, but to make sure they never came back. By morning, Ray had the goods. Your boy Rico, he said, pointing to the screen, has 2 active warrants. One for battery. One for distribution. And this guy, he tapped another face. That's Lionel Stix Ruiz. Been arrested twice with enough product in his trunk to start a pharmacy. Tell me you got video, I asked. Ray smirked and turned the laptop toward me. There they were. All 5 of them, clear as day, standing around my old driveway at 2 a.m., laughing, swearing, and very clearly armed. I even spotted the flash of a handgun tucked into Rico's waistband. We blur your daughter's face. Hand this over to the right detective, Ray said, and this becomes a very actionable situation. Not yet, I said. Let's give Trent a choice first. That afternoon, I returned to the house, but this time, I didn't knock. I stood across the street, hands in my jacket, watching as Trent stepped out onto the porch. He saw me, hesitated, then tried that smirk again, the one that had less confidence every time he used it. I raised my phone and hit send. BZZZT. He checked his own phone, saw the message, froze. Inside that text, a photo of Rico and his crew standing on the porch with timestamps, and another of Trent, slapping the back of one of their heads, grinning like a man who didn't know he was about to lose everything. Then, I sent the second text. This footage goes to the police in 24 hours, unless you're gone in 12. He looked up at me, pale, sweating, and suddenly, very quiet. He didn't yell, didn't posture, just turned around and went back inside. 10 minutes later, the porch lights went off. By sunset, the charger was gone. By midnight, so was Trent. Emma texted me from upstairs. They're packing. Mom's not saying anything, just following his lead. I replied, stay calm. You're almost safe. And she was. But we weren't done yet. Because as much as Trent was the fire, my ex-wife had left the door wide open and handed him the matches. They left just before sunrise. No big farewell. No slam of the door. Just the quiet sound of tires on pavement and a half-hearted attempt to toss a trash bag into the bin on their way out. Missed it, of course. Fitting. Emma watched from the upstairs window. I saw her silhouette behind the curtain, still, quiet, waiting to be sure it was real. I didn't go in right away. Not until I got the text. It's just me and Mom now. You can come. I walked up the steps slow, steady, like I was entering my house for the first time again. Because in a way, I was. The door creaked open. Emma stood behind it, already crying but trying to hide it. I held her, tighter than I had in years, like I could undo the fear she'd carried with one hug. But then she appeared. Claire. My ex-wife. She stood at the end of the hall, arms crossed, no makeup, no defenses, just tired. Like she'd finally realized how far she'd let things fall. You didn't have to scare them, she said, not looking at me. They were going to leave eventually. I looked around at the mess, the scuffed walls, broken picture frames, the smell of smoke still hanging in the curtains. Eventually wasn't good enough, I said. You think you're a hero now? Coming back and playing the soldier in the suburbs? I turned to her. Calm. Firm. No. I'm just a dad. One who's done waiting. She shook her head, that old familiar smirk tugging at her lip. You were always dramatic. And you were always too trusting of bad men with good hair. That landed. She looked away. I let the silence hang a moment, then said, Emma's coming with me for a while. No court fight. No paperwork. Just space. For her. For you. Claire didn't argue. Not even a whisper of protest. I just want her to feel safe, she said finally, softer now. Then don't fight this, I told her. Let me fix what got broken. I walked upstairs. Packed a bag for Emma. She didn't ask questions. Just hugged her stuffed bear and kept glancing at me like she thought I might vanish again. I'm not leaving this time, I told her. You come first now. Always. Emma sat in the passenger seat, quiet. Not the kind of quiet where a kid's ignoring you. This was a different kind. The kind where the silence meant peace. Like her shoulders had finally relaxed for the first time in months. She stared out the window, clutching a blanket that still smelled like my old house, cinnamon, sawdust, and that fabric softener she always made fun of me for using. You okay? I asked, not pushing it. She nodded slowly. Feels weird. Weird good or weird weird? A pause. Both. That made sense. That house, with all its bad memories and broken furniture, had still been her home, even if it stopped feeling like one. She turned to me after a while. How did you know what to do? I smiled. Sweetheart, I've dealt with smug warlords in places that didn't have working plumbing. Trent was just a punk with Wi-Fi and an attitude problem. She laughed. First real laugh I'd heard from her since I got back. That voicemail, I added, the one you left me, it was the hardest thing I've ever heard. But it also reminded me exactly who I needed to be. Angry. Protective, I said. A little angry, yeah. But mostly just done letting other people write our story. She leaned her head against the window. I missed you. I missed you more than you know. We didn't say much after that. Didn't need to. That old farmhouse I'd moved into after the divorce was waiting for us. Nothing fancy, just quiet. Real quiet. The kind you earn. The kind you protect. I figured we'd start over there. Just me, her, and the dog that hadn't figured out how to stay off the couch.